I'm joined now by retired Admiral Robert Natter, former 7th Fleet Commander. First of all, how might these Olympics, and I know that this is obviously overly optimistic to think, but when you watch the Olympics and you see all these different countries, specifically North Korea, South Korea, and the United States all attending, does the participation at all, do you think, affect diplomacy with North Korea?
Julie, it only affects it in as much as North Korea wants to use this as an opportunity to start discussions about dismantling their nuclear weapons. Or it could just be another ploy on their part, propaganda ploy, like they've done over the last 50 years or so. The question is, which one is it?
Okay, so then what is North Korea's objective?
Well, again, it could be to distract the world, and especially Americans, to the real threat of their development of nuclear weapons and the long-range missiles to carry them. Or it could be something that they want to get serious about. I have my doubts about the latter.
Okay. Pence basically told defectors, and I'm quoting, "The American people stand with you for freedom, and you represent the people of North Korea, millions of which long to be free as well." The president had, sent the vice president over there. The vice president had said before taking this trip with his wife that he had hoped to have talks with North Korea in some way, shape, or form. North Korea basically said no thanks. What next?
Well, what next is any kind of diplomacy at this level is going to be done quietly at first. We just don't know what that effort is or if it's anything. But the reality is, unless the North Korean family decides to sit down and talk about dismantling these weapons, this is all about the appearances of diplomacy.
When Vice President Pence arrived at the Olympics, he also met with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Obviously, Japan is looking to the United States, hoping to come up with some sort of resolution. What are talks now with Japan? Do they change at all, seeing that North Korea's reluctance clearly is not going anywhere? It's not going to change, so then something has to give, something has to change. The question is, what does?
Well, ultimately, the North Koreans have got to become realistic about this and put the welfare of their people ahead of
we know that's not
developing
going to happen.
weapons.
I mean, they're not realistic, and they don't care about the welfare of their people. So then what next? I mean, because you have to obviously rule out all the obvious things that aren't going to work, since history sort of repeats itself.
Well, what we have not done historically is impose and maintain serious sanctions. And that's what has started here. We've got to continue that. We've got to continue to talk with the Chinese to ensure they understand that this is in their self-interests as well as American self-interests.
You not only talk with the Chinese, you talk with Russia. And again, it goes back to the Olympics. And this is, you would hope, for someone who's hopeful of diplomacy, when you see these countries all come together and compete in these winter sports, and the world is supposed to sort of rally behind their teams, and then you see Russia and Russia's involvement in how they have not cracked down on North Korea. They're helping countries like Syria, for example. I mean, so now you have Russia. Play Russia into that factor. So you've got China and Russia. You've got the United States and North Korea that's basically doing business with the bad guys, and the United States is trying to somehow come in the middle and make it right. What do you do with Russia?
Well, again, you have to work with the Russians. You have to make it in their best interest to get this resolved, because they don't want to see nuclear weapons flying in their direction in eastern Russia either. So this really is in all our self-interests, but we need to sit down and work with them. The Chinese have been forthcoming here in the last 7 months or so. But we need to keep the pressure on, and we need to make sure that we as a nation don't slide on the sanctions, which we've done in the past, by the way.
All right. Admiral Robert Natter, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on.